I never gave up on the idea of that one day I will fly to space. I had even a backup plan that if everything else failed, I had told my husband that when I die, if I had not flown to space, you have to make sure that somehow you get my ashes, at least a little bit of it, into space. I was determined that somehow I'll find a way. I didn't know how. I had no clue how it would happen. I think if you really want to do something and you're not shy about talking about it, you will come across people. The universe will align to help you get to your dream.
Reading as a child about Baikonur, Sputnik, this tiny little signal, beep, 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 shocking the world. Laika, the first dog being beamed into space. The first man in space. The first woman in space.
I mean, first of all, the film is based on this paradox that the Russian way of bringing people up to space in reality looks not like the stereotype of the clean NASA way of doing it. It's very old-fashioned, even though it's a wonderful rocket. It's very reliable. It's the best rocket ever built. But the carpets they are putting their suits on are old carpets. It looks all post-Soviet style because it was all part of the Cold War, and it was all having its height during the Cold War, during the communist system. So it was, I mean, their religion, you know, Gagarin and Laika the dog, they were like, wow. So you are asking about the ending of the film. This is exactly the instinct. I wanted to show the loneliness of mankind and space, and then this strange rocket thing in between. And it was based on research. So again, I'm doing extensive research on all my topics. I know much more than what's finally in the film, like every screenplay writer should do in fiction. You know 10 times as much as you need for the dialogues about your characters if you do fiction, at least 10 times. You know much more. That makes it rich. That makes these characters then finally characters and not stereotypes. No? So doing this research, I found out that, you know, it looks like that. That's a piece of rocket, Soyuz, you see it? And it's falling constantly down, not only the entire boosters, but sometimes because they're falling down from 100 kilometers, they lose parts of their metal. I mean, so this, you find it all over Kazakhstan. And during communism, when there's a total taboo of collecting the rocket parts, some shepherds, I was told, research, used to build little shacks with these Soyuz parts, which is a nice story. Why? Because it's a paradox. You never expect Shepard and Soyuz being combined to a shack protecting you against the rain. So yes, it's a staged scene based on the reality that happened a lot, I was told. But I can't just hope that I can film it by driving around the steppe, you know, I mean, of course not. So I had to find a way of shooting that, and that's why it's an important question. I'm doing much more than you might think of so-called arranged setup or situations where actually the shooting is a shooting like, not in fiction, but it's close. And then you need a method, of course, like a good director in fiction, how to direct that so that it's not obviously that this shepherd doesn't look stupid and that it makes it all look natural, you know. That's what we did. I mean, what we did, we found a way to, since I did a lot of research, I found pieces of the Soyuz, real one, of course, not a prop, you know, I don't need that. I'm a documentary filmmaker. There's these pieces around in Kazakhstan. And we casted a nice shepherd. And we asked. And then it's a directed sequence. It begins, again, I have a very good cinematographer. I would like to talk more about my collaboration with Peter. He's always the same guy. So he's filming this piece of Soyuz in the steppe, and then you see in far away this sheep's coming into the frame, and then the shepherd is just approaching with his horse, and it's kind of, it looks quite natural. That's just handicraft of directing, that it doesn't look strange, you know. I cannot really explain to you. And Thomas, my 007, you know, who's helping me so much in Russia, he had the unpleasant role of bringing the sheep into the frame, and then it was so really, he was running like these sheepdogs, you know, all or not too, you cannot go too aggressive, then they, so he had to go like these wonderful dogs who can keep the shepherd together, you know, and he did a great job. So it was a lot of shouting, even I think, no, I normally don't use walkie-talkies, but maybe I don't remember. But you have to delete the sound, you have to replace it completely.
Your choice for space tourists to start with her returning to the Earth, that was critical. I mean, that's crucial.
Well, there was a discussion with my commission editor from Swiss TV. He was against that. He said, well, but it destroys the arc of the story of the first female space tourist, because then you already know by watching the film that she actually makes it and doesn't die up there in space. And I was like, well, but you would know that anyway, because if somebody dies in space, it's kind of a collective thing. It's something big, you know. And I really feel by letting her get, you know, like beating into this apple, and she's still, I established a totally different you to this. You know, you have this gender thing, you know, rocket up and all this earth. I mean, you have to be aware that's how our brain works, you know. So I bring her down, there's an apple, she's a female, she's fragile, it's a birth. I mean, hello. You know, how long I took me to organize that the guy taking her out of the capsule, she didn't know that, makes it in a way that I can film it, and I crossed even the bound, because the media people like me, we were having like 5 meter distance, I just, within, I knew so exactly what's going to happen. I need the birth, you know. So I prepare all that very well. I filmed myself with the big camera. So we have to be aware of these things, and then to create something and to do the right decision so it's finally something different. Because again, of course, I didn't want to do the usual narrative like, we bring the rocket up, you know. Heroism, male, whatever, you know. The music I use, and I mean, it's beautiful. It's really like, it's somehow sexual, you know, the whole thing at the beginning. But you have this parachute, it's like a sperm. You have the birth. No, I mean, there is this connotations of it in it. And it's all real. I mean, it's no manipulation on the images. It was just bloody difficult to film it because the parachute goes down so quickly. I need 5 guys, military guys with my cameras, you know, to film that. But it was finally possible. It was very shaky, but I liked the texture of it. But so these are decisions I make on purpose, of course. And there's another poem in Space Tourists, which is by Arseny Tarkovsky. He's Tarkovsky, the famous director's father. He was a poet. And I just fit, because I worked with Artemiev, the Tarkovsky composer. He lives in Moscow. He did all this wonderful music for Tarkovsky film. So I thought this is the right poem. It's by a Russian poet, and it's a Russian composer. And I like sometimes to add poetry to my films. And the way then I recorded this is just with Jonas Bendixen, you know, this photojournalist I use like a guide. He was just whispering the poet. Because this is, again, maybe just instinct, you know, a rocket launch is the loudest event on Earth. You really have to protect yourself. I was, you know, in Cape Canaveral, it's 10 kilometers, and the Russians let you 1 kilometer only. That's really close. So you see, basically, you see the sound waves coming, and then it's like somebody's really knocking in. I was prepared for it. It makes you breathless, and you have to protect everything. It's so loud. It's very violent. Well, I start with extensive research. Now, what example should I give you? Maybe Genesis.
Лет жил вместе с мамонтом.
For the Industrial Revolution with energy, it was the machine. For us, it's the cell. It's going to change everything.
The hunters search for tusks. Each one of them desperately hopes to find the white gold.
Кровоточащий мамонт.
World-famous molecular engineer and geneticist George Church. He wants to bring a woolly mammoth back to life out of a petri dish.
Hopefully, mammoth.
Baby mammoth.
Oh la la, excellent. It's invaluable. God's word is still imperfect, but if we work together.
The female voice, well, instinct, paradox, contrast, you know, I mean, again, I like my testosterone, I like the fact there is only men on the islands, I have no problem with that, but my instinct tells me it would be maybe nice to have a female voice, you know, because, you know, you don't find any shamanistic religion where Orph is male. You don't find it. We have really a common universal language of. And why do so many pre-Christian, Jewish, Islamic religions actually feature earth and nature and the soul of it and taboos? I thought it's interesting because it has to do, it goes to the core of the message in Genesis, you know. But you have to be careful. You can do an easy, very kitschy, esoteric thing, just feeding, you know. But I was, of course, really planning this sequence from the beginning. Like, I didn't even know if there is this myth. I just thought most probably they will have one. Most ethnicities have a mythological explanation of the origins of the world. So the rest is just, I mean, this is why I love my life and my job. It's going to the university with 007 as a translator every day. Sometimes all these people are not even there, so you go back. But anyway, you work and you reach out and you talk with the scientists, you talk with the people, and you find finally Olenko, UNESCO protected thing, 40,000 pages long. I was just lucky finding this part. Probably I didn't read all of it. Okay, casting of the voice. I wanted a voice over 45. Why? Because it's Mother Earth. I mean, you know, female voices change, and I wanted a over 45-year-old voice. So there was 3 actors coming to the audition, 2 of them over 45, 1 25. She just wanted to come. She got the job. Her voice is, I mean, it's incredible, you know. She has just this deep voice, which is perfect, and she did a great job in reading this Olenko. And I think it helps, of course, a lot to, this is the contract with the audience. I'm not supposed to be on this island. It's a restricted area. The reason for it is also interesting. It's history, you know. Putin reopened an army base on these uninhabited islands. Big one, actually, because, you know, global warming, there are more and more ships going there. You know, it's the North Passage. You better have, it's like 500 soldiers up there. So actually, I could also give up the project and say I can't shoot there, so that's it. But always, this is my instinct, you know. I mean, I'm like, for me, the reaction was, I'm really honest with you. Oh, then the Discovery Channel guys come to their soap, you know. I mean, that's actually some good news if they can't get there. Okay, but me, you know. And then, you know, part of the first research was, how do I film on the islands? The epiphany was while I was reading George Church's books, a book about bioengineering and bringing back the woolly mammoth. I was coming across photographs by a Yakutian photographer, Evgenia Arbugaeva. She is the photographer behind this artwork. She's a wonderful, very gifted National Geographic photographer, being born right at the shore towards the New Siberian Islands. She's part of this culture. And her showing with her photographs this wonderful world, primordial world of the Tuscans, that was for me the epiphany. Oh, this is linked to the future, etc., etc. But then, okay, research, basic research. I don't get there. Okay, let's call 007. 007 Thomas, you know, and you know, my Russian agent. How can we maybe anyway get there? His answer, forget about it, Christian. I mean, it's a military zone, you don't cross this line. You know it, don't even ask me. Because these people, some people offered very expensive helicopter flights to stay there for 2 hours and bring you back for $150,000. Not Hong Kong dollars. Okay, so it's very expensive, it's at the end of the world, I can't get there, okay, but I still want to do a film. Huh? And it took me like 3 weeks to find Maxim. And that's the beauty of research. Because I just did more research. I just read everything about this photographer finally. She triggered the whole film. And somewhere I was reading, not mentioning her brother, I was reading a caption in a National Geographic website featuring a small video and not only her photographs. And the caption said, copyright Maxim Arbugaev, and not Arbugaeva. Now, knowing that Arbugaeva is the female form of Arbugaev, that's another part of the research. You have to know the culture of the language also. Otherwise, you would think maybe they are just related. I was thinking, maybe it's family. So I reached out to Evgenia twice. 3 times he didn't react. Okay, I have this experience. It's again war photography. You know, these photographers never react. So, I mean, it's all real. You know. And then 007 do me a report on Arbugaev family in Yakutsk, because I know she was born in Tixi, which is at the shore towards the islands, but Yakutsk. She was living then in Yakutsk. And then he's working like 1 week, and I get back at 20. I work like a secret service in these moments. Very normal. I get a 20-page report on this family. Yes. I mean, not stolen anything, just what he can read in Russian, local papers, local news. They opened a big, his father seems to be an adventurer, carrying out the rich Russians to fishing and hunting. He's kind of an interesting guy. They have a big restaurant. They have good relations to the army. Oh, it's actually an interesting family. And the son is studying at Gerasimov Institute in Moscow. Aha, wow. You know, he's a filmmaker. The rest is very short, you know. You find out this email, and he reacted, not like his sister. And he actually always dreamt of doing a big film. He did a short film already on the topic. He was 25 when I met him first, started the project, very young. But of course, he's so intelligent, you know, you see that. It was wonderful working with him. It was really on eye level, besides of our little difference in age. It was on eye level because he's really intelligent, and he knew he will never be able yet to do a big film on this topic because he's just starting. And the interesting thing, it's in the film, you know, that he actually changed of being a professional hockey player, ice hockey, to become an artist because of the islands that changed him, etc. So I could feel this could work, that it's a win-win situation for him, big film being done. And from the beginning, I offered him that he will be the one not only doing cinematography on the islands, but doing also directing it, because I'm not going there, And that we will somehow, of course, very openly declare that in the movie, that I don't want to answer this question in the Q&As, so how was it on the islands? And then I have to admit I was never there. And that's stupid, So the dialogue form, I began to I didn't offer him that it's a film by Frei and Arbugaev yet, because I knew I have to keep the control as a producer and responsible director, overall director, because of the money we have to raise for this expensive film. And he agreed with that, it was very, he could feel, and he, of course, was reading me that, this is not Discovery Channel with the idea of doing a docu-soap with the Russian against the American tusk hunters, This is something different. This guy seems to respect. Of course, again, I'm Googleable. You can Google my career. He watched the War Photographer, and it was within 2 days he said, yes, let's do it. That was in spring 2015. In summer we were shooting. All what you see in the film is shot in 2015. I didn't even have raised any of the money. I just put it myself into the production. So, because this first shoot was only supposed to be a test. The camera was okay, but it ended up with everything you see in the film was shot then already. How did I prepare him? Watching what he did, realizing he's very good cinematographer, but he's also young. And he mentioned the idea of bringing GoPros and maybe, what's these flying things? Drones, yeah. Oh, God. You see my reaction, no? It's not on eye level. Drones are okay for certain commercial things, but it says nothing about us, about humans. There might be certain projects it's totally okay. I invent a lot of gadgets for my film. I like it. Drones are normally, and there's now some helicopter flights in the film, but they are related to his story. It's this backslash when he's talking about 2012 when he went to his sister. That's a helicopter flight, real texture from that moment. So you see the island from above, but you don't see the eagle perspective of the two hunters, lonely down there, walking the earth, seeking for the tusks. Why? Because there is no human perspective on this shot. We are not eagles, no? It's okay in a fiction film, If Kubrick is featuring very beautiful aerial shots in The Shining, when they go up to this mountain, featuring this incredible stage where he's doing this We Close horror film, that's wonderful. I love to watch it. That's fiction. I don't care how they do it with the camera when they do Mad Max. It's this whole constructions they use with whatever arms and vehicles and helicopters and drones, and that's okay. But if you shoot with real human beings, sharing their daily life and emotions to seek for the tusks, you better bring no gimbals and stuff. You bring your heart, you bring a good camera, and you bring strong muscles because you have to walk with them. There's no cars involved. There's no, staging. You have to walk with them. And you film them on eye level. Don't put the, GoPro on the sledge and then you have this Riefenstahl perspective into the nose hole. And you do these hero shots. Be aware that in every image you create, you're reflecting yourself. You're visible constantly in every image. Again, in fiction, that's different. Even though there's a lot also of decisions involved how you do a fiction film, but you don't care how they did it with the camera. Steadicam. That's very nice. Kubrick, you said it was one of the first. It doesn't work for documentary. I mean, try it. Walk with a Steadicam in front of a real human being, not an actor. So what this real human being has to do is walking and looking somewhere, but not looking at this strange guy with this, stuff here. I mean, that's documentary. Try to keep your instrument as low-key as possible. No drones, no everything you like, maybe. I took it away from him. But I gave him a poem with On the Way. Like 20 pages. It was like, by watching your documentary, he already did this short, I can feel that you approach your task hunters and their dignity on eye level, that you are just holding your camera, whatever happens, if they're fighting, if they're happy, and you are always seeking for a respectful shot expressing this dignity. That's all. But that's a lot. Don't stage, don't direct, and I give you then some instructions for the moments where you will probably have to stage. Example, the Kotelny Island where these men were seeking is the least attractive of the three of this group of islands because the shore is boring. You see it in the finale, it's just a normal shore. The other New Siberian islands have these wonderful, incredible, impressive shores where you have the grassland, tundra, and then it's ice melting, and then you have the sea, and it's maybe 30 meters. And you see the grass, why is the grass going over this cliff? Because it's constantly melting. So it says a lot about global warming. It's actually attractive. Shit, they are not going to this attractive island. We have a problem. Maxim or 007, do the research, or myself, control all satellite images, whatever we get. It took us a week. We found 300 meters of this kind of shore also at the Kotelny. That's the thing you see at the beginning of the film. And he brought this one tusk hunter there, blood, and staged it. And you think it's all over the island like that. It's not. Because this short tells you something about the content of the film. It's important. So of course, he was also talking a lot of Peter, and he was learning a lot from us. I mean, he kind of cut out to our experience, but he's very gifted himself. So finally, I was not calm. I mean, the moment when I went with my co-editor to Moscow, watching the footage, I was nervous. And Maxim brought his mother from Yakutsk. That's a 5-hour flight. She was doing some borscht, and she wanted first to serve you as the soup, and I was like too nervous. I wanted to watch some footage first. And then immediately we could feel, yes, he did it. What does it mean? You can't change in post-production these things. If I film you like that, there's no post-production tool is taking this strange perspective away, this kind of more advertising. I mean, again, you're visible in every shot, and this remains. Whatever you do in post-production, you can exchange skies and stuff like that, but that's it. So Maxim did a great job. Most of it is handheld. And it's interesting stories, I mean, he was really telling himself that he wants to do the Salamat too when they find the first tusks. He believes in this stuff with the taboos. He's studying in Moscow, elite university. I mean, Gerasimov Institute, this is the main film school. It's really a very good film school. urban life, urban youngster. He wanted to give something back to Mother Earth when he's capable to film the first tusk being found. That's a promise he made to himself. And then he got very nervous. 2 weeks on the islands, no tusk yet. I mean, only bullshit, junk, not, and he really got nervous that they will not find tusks, and when they found the first tusk, which is of course not the first tusk in the film, but a nice one. He was so, nervous, and he filmed beautifully, and he forgot about the Salama, and they went home on the sledge, and the sledge had an accident, and he fell into water with the camera and was underwater for 1 minute with the camera. Of course, there was a tiny backup camera, which he hated, the Sony A7. And what they did, it was really, you cannot call any, company. So one of them in their tent was always awake, holding the camera. It was full of water, water pouring out of the the lens away, and then you could, it was... Normally, I don't know why he didn't give up and just use the fucking A7, which he hated and which he really didn't treat so nicely. The footage, I could always say, oh, this is an A7 shot. He doesn't like the camera, I can see that. He's not in love with this thing. So one was holding the camera, and the other one was sleeping for 3 entire days and nights. And after 3 days, it worked again.
Yay! Yeah. What camera was it?
I don't remember. I have to check it. Some whatever big chip Sony, $8,000, and not very expensive. But that's not the point, he wanted this camera to continue. So it was really filming at the edge of the world, sharing everything with these hunters, hunger, danger, but not a lot of actually gasoline in the sense of drama. No fights. Of course, excitement when they found the tusk. So what we had to do in the editing, there's another way of editing. It's not coming out of the scene. So you have to construct it. So the whole Spira thing, it's not constructed in the way that it's invented. Most of these men have a problem. So, most of Russian men have an alcohol problem, and some of these men go to the islands to get rid of the alcohol at least for a few months. But it's really, it's a gold rush thing, They come home, the most lucky ones end up in the casino in this fisherman village, which is featuring gambling and girls. And some of them lose within 2 weeks, whatever, they were lucky. It's the gold rush thing, it's men. So they were fragile. So we had a whole... Because Maxim knows this world, huh? And also I did my work, 007 did its work, so we had a lot of sources for stories. And then we decided, well, what's happening with Spira is the best story, And we knew about him, but we had a whole range of stories. So we had to construct it with voiceover. You don't see on the islands like a lot of direct cinema style, real fighting, real emotion, nothing. It's all constructed. That's what you have to do when you don't get it on camera. You have to do it off camera. You have to edit your drama. Even the finale, we didn't have any shot of Spira staring into the sea. That's Spira staring, maybe not even staring, at some point in the footage somewhere on the island. You can do that, that's okay. Just there is limits, in manipulation. But what was really, of course, persuasive with Spira was that he had a moment of almost getting crazy when they don't find the tusk. And then my co-editor, Thomas, reported, this is at least one emotional key moment. I can kind of cook this into it looks like an old Russian fiction film. It's really, he's getting so crazy. So we use that as a tool. Okay, we have a core. Now we need a setup. We need you construct these things after a while. That's why it takes so long. There was a problem with the 12 wonderful tusk hunters. No fights. They look like real men, no? I mean, hello? They were so nice to each other. Nothing. We had a lot of translators. It was very difficult, the translation, because it's a very exotic language. You don't find a lot of translators doing it. So that could be something which seduces you to manipulate the dialogues. Fortunately, Arte, for example, demands, it's this German-French broadcasters, they are really right to do that. You need to deliver with your film a transcript in every language, original, what's your dialogues, and they check your translations. Because otherwise, the danger would be that you just put some lines on this, very exotic language. I actually did that, to be honest with you. I'm now very honest, but I mean that I can be honest with you. You have the finale now, when they leave with these crazy boats. Fact is, many men lost their lives. It is dangerous. It's fact. It's not me scripting that. Fact is that when Maxim was filming Vlad, this one of the protagonists, next to this boat guy, you couldn't understand any of the dialogue. With all the help of the filtering, not understandable. But there is subtitles saying, is it okay to go out there? And the guy says, yeah, I think it's okay. Is it okay to do that? Yes. Because it's based on the fact that it is dangerous. I didn't invent that. And it's very important to show, actually, that they were really afraid. Maxim told me that they were. I'm not inventing the drama, but I'm telling you the drama by inventing subtitles. I did it. I admit it. And I have no problem, because Arte cannot say it's manipulation, because no, you can't understand what they were actually saying. Not even the Yakut. The film was released in Yakutsk with a lot of success. Thousands of Yakutians have seen the movie. They would have reported if this is just bullshit. It happened before, You shoot in Nepal, you think, well, this is exotic, it's, by the way, very racist. And then the film is being seen by Nepalese, and they say, what a bullshit is this subtitle? It's not at all what these people are talking about. That's embarrassing. It's not at all respectful to other culture. Hello? But on the other hand, we are storytellers. We have needs. So when you have the chance of the sea being so loud that you don't understand a dialogue, be creative. Put subtitles, because they are talking. No problem with that. So basically, this is the key to my work. I love to work in the tradition of direct cinema sometimes. I even use methods of direct cinema when I have a setup situation. I can talk a little more about that. To make it not look like staged, to help my protagonists not being actors. I'll give you an example. You have George Church and his assistant scientist, and they are supposed to talk about the Asian elephant and the woolly mammoth. And basically, they're just sitting on a table. And I had 5.5 hours with George Church in total for everything. So we had 20 minutes for this scene. So it's horrifying. Forget about direct cinema. I cannot just put them on the table, the camera is on a tripod, the sound is, no, not a boom, never. But okay, they have their mics, whatever, and then you do whatever you want. You need to do something to help them, because it's a strange situation, no? What I did, I bought a little figurines, Asian elephant, like this size, a little mammoth, did a lot of research to find the right size. I didn't tell them, of course. I didn't show these things to them. until everything was set up, the camera was running, I put it on the table. Just. What do? Human brain, they take it into their hands, they look at it, they begin to talk. It's as simple as that. And then finally, when you have some real, that's of course also my cinematographer, he knows that exactly. You capture the real moments of this dialogue. And then Peter is totally aware we've got that. We have enough. He's listening to what these people are talking. He's not just, occupied with focus and blah, blah, blah. He's doing that by the way, but he's listening. Aha, okay. I think we have enough. Then he goes close. And then he didn't really, it was difficult with the close-up because of, focus and everything. So I began to step into the room, which I wasn't even in the room. I was out of the room with, these nice monitors, I have now with the wireless signal. So I was listening to everything, watching everything. That's the moment when I come into the room as a director. I know exactly what Peter's problem is. I know exactly what good moments I captured in the direct cinema way. And I begin to go very close to these protagonists. Peter here with the camera tripod this time. You can't do this, and why should you, Real filming situation, sound, blah, 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 everybody. And just told them, why don't you take the woolly mammoth and put it here, or I actually construct the close-up so they look beautiful. You can't use the sound. You hear constantly Mr. Frei talking. But you don't need to use the sound there. It's a close-up. So what I try to say here, in the core of it is captured as direct cinema, not directed, not scripted, not telling them, I would like to hear this and this and this. You end up, this is never working. And then you work in the tradition of a setup or almost fiction, and you construct your additional images you need for the storytelling. Like, for example, I say, okay, I want Mr. Church up here at the students' happening. That's my job. That's directing a documentary. We need these kind of setups because I need emotions, and I have 5.5 hours for everything concerning this superstar. How do I show he's a superstar? How do I show emotions? By bringing Mr. Spielberg to the Cincinnati Film Festival. I anticipate that this has a big effect on these people because, wow, this is church, wow, And it happened. Because what's happening at iGEM day long is that they present their scientific research, these students, You don't understand anything what they're talking about. So the poster session is the only moment when you have at least some visual. Because this is the moment, the poster session at iGEM is very attractive because they present their work to the other teams. Everybody's walking around, so they have these visuals. And it's kind of mixing together, and it's nice. Because the presentation would be also very boring. I mean, first of all, you don't understand what these people are so excited about. We just don't get it. I mean, that's reality now, more and more. So, of course, I wanted to bring him into the poster session. The poster session is a real thing. It happens every evening between 7 and 8 at iGEM, and it's a 20-minute drive from Harvard Medical School to the poster session. So we better leave 20 before 7 with Mr. Church in the cab to the poster session, but maybe it would be even better to leave a little bit earlier because we have a setup. It's still a car shot involved, which I love. I love to film people, my protagonists, in the cars. By the way, what you see in the film now is Church, of course, not supposed to talk. I tell him, don't talk with the cab driver, because the normal instinct, if you have this cinematographer, I mean, Peter is a tall man, and still, and the camera is this size. So he's not alone in this cab with the cab driver. So normal reaction is to avoid this little bit strange reaction is to talk with the cab driver. I just tell him not to talk. So he's not supposed to talk, so that's what we get. We get this wonderful face, you know. I mean, he has a great face, no? Then I combine this shot with a point of view shot, like makes it look like fiction. But since it's the dawn, it's 20 to 7, we can't shoot it in the same tough schedule. That's the day after, hoping for the same weather. So you see how I construct all this? So the day after, we take the same kind of cap, and we do the point of view shots through Boston, and then we take the most beautiful moments. That gives you this cinematographic, big cinema feeling. But, of course, the problem was really this tough schedule within all this. I anticipate, like if you would be a fiction director. I mean, you have a vision of your film, you have your actors, you have your set, you have your technicians. You have to have an idea what's going to happen. The same for me. No, I mean, really not the same like Maxim in the field with these wonderful task hunters every day, just walking with them and seeing what's happening. And it's interesting with Genesis that you can actually combine these two totally different methods within one film. But it was not easy.